All right, guys, tonight's lesson is going to be a combination of two different lessons. All right, we're going to be combining section 4 and section 5, adding real numbers and subtracting real numbers. This shouldn't be too much of a challenge for you guys. Adding real numbers. So when you're dealing with real numbers, you can think of it on a number line if you want. All right, so if you have a negative on a number line, you're adding a negative, you're moving to the left. If you're adding a positive, you would be moving to the right. All right, so in this case, you have two negatives, so you're adding a -2, so you start here, you go to the -2, you're going to add to that a -3, and that will end you up at a -5. All right, so -8, you move to the left 8, +3, you would move to the right 3, and that would end you up, again, -5. All right, this is just giving you guys a way to visualize this. This concept shouldn't be anything new for you. The other way that you can think about this, if you don't want to think about it on a number line, you want to think about it a little bit more mathematically, is if you're adding two numbers with the same sign, you add their absolute values, and then you use their common sign for the answer. All right, with two different signs, you subtract their absolute values. All right, so same side you add, different signs you subtract their absolute values, and then you give the answer the same sign as the larger of those absolute values. So what that's going to look like practically is you have a -14, -9, so -14 plus -9, you're going to add them together, that's going to be a 23. You give them the sign that they both have because they're the same sign, so it's going to be a -23. All right, you have differing signs here. Which one of these is bigger, the 11 or the 18? The 18. So that means your answer is going to be positive, right? So you have 18 minus 11, it's going to be 7. 18 is a larger number, so it's going to be a +7, okay? 18 plus a -13, which one has the larger value? The 13, okay? So your answer is going to be a negative value. So 13 minus 8 is 5. You give it the negative value for the larger number, which is going to be a -5. All right. You can bust through these ones. -21. 21 is a larger value. Your answer is going to be a negative. So 21 and 12 is going to be a -9. All right, 12 minus 9, or 12 plus a -9 is going to be a +13. 0 plus a -12 is going to be a -12. That's an identity property. All right, we're going to be looking at those in a little bit, but the identity property for addition or subtraction is going to deal with 0. So -12 plus a 0 is going to equal -12. That makes this one an identity property. All right, fractions, you need a common denominator, so they multiply the right by 5 and the left by 3 to get a common denominator of 15. 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 5 is 10, -12, 12 is bigger, plus 10 is going to be a -2 over 15. All right, you have +16 plus a -9 plus a -9, right? You have +16 plus a -9 is going to be 7, plus another -9 is going to be a -2. Okay, because your 9 is bigger than your 7, -2. You have grouping symbols on this one. All right, so you need to do what's inside the grouping symbols first. You can't like mix them up to your heart's content. Do what's inside the grouping symbol. So 3 plus a -13 will be a -10. All right, -4 plus a -7 is a -11. You're adding these together. -10, -11, they have the same sign, so you just add the values and give it the negative, which would be -21. All right, finding the opposites of things. Okay, finding the opposites. So if you think about this on a number line, an opposite is going to be the same distance, but in the other direction from 0. Right, so if you have a number line, same distance, other direction from 0. If you want to think about this algebraically, if a is a number, then the negative of a -a will be a +a. So really all they want is if you have like -2, what's the opposite of -2? It's going to be a +2, okay? So the opposite of each number. -35, you want the opposite of that, you change that thing to a positive, it's +35. 12, you want the opposite of that, add the line, it's going to be a -12. This is a -3 over 11. The opposite of -3 over 11 is going to be a +3 over 11. The opposite of a +1.9 will be a -1.9. Right? Busting through these because I think you guys know them. All right. And not even going to go over that one. All right, the sum of a number and its opposite is going to be 0. So if you have a negative 2 plus 2, it's going to equal 0. Right? Negative 25 plus 25, 0. 72 plus a negative 72 is going to be 0. Okay? Evaluating algebraic expressions. You guys did this last night and a little bit in class today, so this should be nothing new for you. You plug in the x, the 2 for the x, plug in the negative 6 for the y, and you would get, all right, you would get 3 times 2 plus a negative 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Positive 6 plus the negative 6, your solution is going to be 0. All right, plug in negative 13 for x, negative 9 for y. So you have negative 13 plus a negative 9 will be a negative 22. All right, applications. So what this is pretty much telling you, word problems, right? The temperature at 4 p.m. on February 2nd was negative 10 degrees. By 11 p.m., so it says later in the day, it has risen to 12 degrees. What was the temperature at 11 p.m.? So you have at 4 at negative 10. All right, so you have negative 10, and you're finding the temperature 11, which has risen to a positive 12. So you have negative 10 plus 12, or you can switch them around because of the commutative property. You can switch these around. So you have the 12, and you can add, you can subtract the negative 10 from that. All right, so 12 minus 10 is going to give you a positive 2. Okay, so the temperature at 11 p.m. is a positive 2. All right, subtracting real numbers. It's the opposite of adding the negative. Okay, so pretty much we just covered this. Subtracting number is the same as adding a negative. So a minus b equals a plus a negative b, and that's half of what that last lesson was on. All right, so you have 6 minus 10. That's going to be a negative 4. Okay, 14 minus 19, it's going to be a larger negative. You have 2 negatives, it's going to be a larger negative, so it's negative 33. Negative 12 minus a negative 6. All right, negative 12 minus negative 6 is the same thing as a positive 6. If you have a negative on the outside of the parentheses and a negative on the inside of the parentheses, you take this negative sign, you bring it in, and you turn this into a positive. So you have 2 negatives. Takes 2 lines to make a positive. That's one way to think of it. So you would have negative 12, a line turns it into a positive 6. All right, so negative 12 plus 6 is going to be a negative 6. All right, 6 minus 9, negative 3. The 9's bigger, right? 14, negative 14 minus 5, it's going to be a larger negative, so that's going to be a negative 19. Negative 3 minus a negative 4, again, you have the second line, bring the second line in, turn this into a positive, it's going to be a positive 1. All right, decimals. You guys should be good with this as well, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this. Fractions, you need a common denominator, so you multiply both sides by a common multiple to get the least common multiple, which for this case with 4 and 5 is going to be 20. All right, simplifying them. So if you have a long chain of these things, you have 12 minus 5, 12 minus 5, and then minus 7. All right, 12 minus 5 minus 7. So you'll end up with it being 0 because 5 and 7 will get you to 12. And you'll have 12 minus 12 equals 0. If you work this left to right, you don't have to. There's a property that says you don't have to in this situation and specifically. You would still get the same answer of 0. All right, 9 minus 6 minus a negative 3 plus 8. Give you all kinds of fun colors for this. 9 minus 6 is going to be a positive 3 plus 8. So 3 plus 3 plus 8, so that's going to be 6 plus 8. 6 plus 8 is 14. All right. Negative 9 minus 5 plus 11 minus a negative 7. So you have negative 9 minus 5, which is going to be 4. It's going to be, sorry, it's not going to be 4. It's going to be a larger negative. So negative 9 minus 5 plus 11 plus 7, it totals out to 4. All right, you have pairing symbols in this one. Okay, and you have an exponent in this one. Order of operations, you have negative 9 minus negative 5 minus a negative 9, so negative 5 plus 9 is going to be positive 4. Then you have this exponent, right? The exponent here of 3 squared, so that's going to be a 9. 9 plus a negative 8 plus 4, or 9 minus 8 plus 4 is 9 minus 8 is 1, plus 4 is going to be 5. All right, same deal with this as in the last lesson. You plug these values in for where you see them in x and y, and then you solve it. All right, so you plug in 4 for x, plug in negative 3 for y, you get 4 plus 3, because it's a negative and a negative, 4 plus 3 over 17 plus 4. Okay, so 7 over 21, that can be reduced. Okay, make sure if it can be reduced, you reduce it, or your answer will be wrong. It can be reduced to a third. All right, is 6 a solution for x minus 9 equals 15? You're going to plug in negative 6 for x. So negative 6 minus 9 equals what? Does that equal 15? No, it's going to equal a negative 15, so negative 6 is not a solution. Okay, it's not a solution. All right, word problems. The highest elevation point in Asia is the top of Mount Everest at a height of 29,228 feet. Above sea level, the lowest point is the Dead Sea, which is 1312 feet below sea level. Okay, so below sea level means this is going to be a negative. How much higher is Mount Everest than the Dead Sea? Right, so you have the original of Mount Everest minus a negative, because it's below sea level, minus a negative of 1312. All right, that's the same as 29,028 plus 1312, which is going to give you your total of 30,340 feet. All right, complementary and supplementary angles. This is with the addition and subtraction, because you need to subtract them. All right, when we're dealing with complementary angles, we're looking at 90 degrees. All right, complementary is 90 degrees. So two angles two angles where the measure of those angles adds up to 90 degrees. And here's an image for that. Right, this is a complementary angle. One way you can remember that, you have complementary and supplementary. C comes before S. So C comes before S. 90 is smaller than 180. Okay, the C goes with the 90 degrees. The C is smaller or closer in the alphabet than the S is, whatever works for you. Complementary is 90. All right, so if you have a 37-degree angle, and you know this is a complementary angle and you need to find x, you can take 90, subtract 37, and it will give you the measure for your angle x of 53. Supplementary angles, 180. Okay, so C, complementary goes to the 90, S goes to the 180, supplementary goes to the 180. So 180 degrees, okay, it's represented by a straight line. You're trying to find y, you take 180, subtract 123 from that, that's going to be 57 degrees. Okay, and that is all for tonight's lesson. So you're going to need to go into Math Excel. You're going to need to do some of the example problems, and then you should be all set and ready to go.